Well, when President Obama first gave a speech in September 2010, kind of talking about democracy and governance in this slightly different frame of open government, open society, open economy, that was before a Tunisian fruit vendor lit himself on fire and unleashed this cascade of democratization and of the demand for dignity. And I think luckily we had started to do a little bit of work in developing the Open Government Partnership because in many ways when one looks at it, it's kind of made for those countries that have newfound political will to take on challenges that other countries have faced over generations. And in the case of Libya and Tunisia and other countries in newly democratic parts of the world, you see them coming to the Open Government Partnership and asking other countries what they can do on budget transparency, how they can enlist civil society in a more deliberative process as they come up with their laws. How can they render deliberations that go on inside closed doors more transparent to the public? And if you look at the demands of the people on the streets of Tunisia, Libya, Egypt, they map directly with what OGP is trying to harness. And so I think, basically there's not a government on earth that can't benefit from OGP. The United States has been trying democracy for several hundred years, and we have a huge amount to learn from Brazil. And even, I'm sure, in no time there'll be things that we can learn from Tunisia. But especially those countries that have either isolated champions of open government, of transparency, those who are trying to fight corruption, but they're trying to figure out how to do it. So even just the politics of fighting corruption or the maneuvering, they can learn from their colleagues in other countries where they've struggled. Or when a whole government changes and says, you know what, I want to turn my back on the past and I want to start doing things in a wholly new way. The idea of OGP is that there's a partnership there that can embrace them, not telling them what to do, thou shalt do this or thou shalt do that, but just saying, look, here's what we tried, didn't work, you might try this, you might try that, talk to this civil society organization, they were active in that country, they might know. And so it's a very kind of collaborative, but meant to be a very sort of respectful embrace. Every country that's part of the partnership has done a national action plan. And the kind of only rule of admission, as it were, once you get past the eligibility criteria, is that you develop that plan in consultation with civil society. Now, some governments here did massive civil society consultations out in rural areas and villages and used the internet to, solicit feedback and so forth. And so the plans have been developed in such close consultation with civil society that then civil society is going to say, okay, where's the delivery? You made these great promises. We're very glad the plan looks very nice and shiny, but where is the implementation? Other plans were not developed with as much consultation. They kind of, some countries just either were last minute or they checked the box. And I think one of the challenges for the partnership is to get a bottom-up interest in the Open Government Partnership, but really in the plans. I mean, the partnership is just a venue in which these conversations occur. What we really care about, of course, is more transparency and the empowerment of citizens. So it's a little chicken and egg challenge in the sense that the more that citizens and civil society groups know about OGP and the national action plans, the more they're going to press for implementation. So we, as a community, need to do as much as we can. Sometimes, taking advantage of networks that exist across borders among civil society organizations. Sometimes using our embassies and so forth to kind of make sure that they are aware that this is an opportunity now to create kind of vertical accountability. There's not some oversight inquisition body that's going to throw people out of OGP and tell them that they don't belong. What this community is meant to do is both to offer support to those people and governments that are willing, and then to create a hook whereby the conversation between citizens and government can occur, with a sort of tangible national action plan as the driving device. So we have our work cut out for us on implementation, but the beauty of the plan is that some commitments have been made anew, and so it gives the citizens and the groups more traction than they might have had there been no Open Government Partnership. Well, I think we as one of the founding forefathers, I guess, of the Open Government Partnership are very excited about the leap from having just 8 countries at the launch in September to now having I think we're up to nearly 50 countries, and you can see when you walk around the convention center here, you see the posters with the commitments of each of the new countries, written out. And so what we want to do through our embassies and through our, foreign assistance and through the president's encounters with other heads of state is just really reinforce the efforts that are being made by the new countries, because many of them develop their plans really, really quickly. Again, many of them have been working on transparency and anti-corruption for a long time, but they haven't worked with other ministries necessarily. That part of the logic of OGP is that every ministry is involved. If it's just one person's problem, chances are the problem isn't going to be solved. Whereas if you can mainstream an ethos of transparency and civic participation across ministries, then you're going to, be in a wholly different domain. So I think our challenge in going back is to take advantage of all the encounters that we have as a country with those new members of OGP in order to encourage them. And as I said, for us also to take advantage of the relations we have with civil society in order to ensure that conversation continues. And we need to do the same thing at home, because when we get home, we're going to be held to account for the commitments that we have made, and civil society is getting impatient with us on a few of our commitments. So we've also got to get back to the drawing board ourselves, because our best leadership and the best way this will work will be by example.